Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this 211th edition of our broadcast here in the Issues Room. Today is January 5th, 2024. And can you imagine? We just celebrated New Year's Day and we're going 5 days in the year. Welcome, Volcano Shelton here with you this evening in the Issues Room, the alternative social media platform that started out of Liberia to address issues trending in the country, the African continent, and the diaspora of Black people. I'd like to welcome you wherever you are. Please share the link. Please invite others to join us here tonight. We're going to have a good conversation. Um, we are transitioning from one phase to another phase, which means that President Weah is winding down. By noon on January 22nd, he will be no more president of Liberia. He will be the past president, the former president, and we're ushering the new president, His Excellency Joseph Yuma Boakai. And so the transition hasn't been rosy, it hasn't been smooth. A lot of things been happening, political wrangling, just people on the other end defying the process, not complying. And so it's unfortunate. We thought that if the CDC government enjoy a smooth transition from the same unity party and led by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, then it's only prudent for President Weah to speak out to his lieutenants to be cooperative in the process so that the transition can be smooth. That is what we'll be talking about here tonight, and especially other things that happen in the country with legislative staff, or especially those uh, supporting the situation, or rather not supporting the situation put before the Senate, and some of the preconditions that they need to confirm the president's nominee for associate justice in Mr. Musa Dean before they can be paid. And there are other stories around monies that the executive has claimed to pay, and senators are saying they have not received a dime. And even if there was money that they were going to be paid, it is arrears. So many things, and we'll be unpacking those things. So we'd like to welcome you. Join us here tonight. Raymond Clark, thank you for joining us. It's good to be back here on this 211th broadcast. Let me bring in Alphonso, and Moses is expected to join us at some point. But listen, welcome, and let's start this conversation. We're here for 1.5 hours as usual. We may just get into things, but let's hear from you quickly. Welcome. What you been doing with yourself? I'm hearing it's going to be snowing tomorrow. You need to unmute.
Yeah, I heard it will snow tomorrow. It's going to begin tonight, being very cold. I hear it's going to hit the 20s tonight. So, yeah, we have to bundle up. Actually, before I joined the show, I just raised the temperature in my house here, and stuff like that. Yeah, but I'm glad to be here. Glad to be able to talk to you all and to the listeners tonight, and look forward to a very exciting conversation.
Well, interestingly, I wanted to throw a jab here tonight. The last promo, we had some kind of typo error,
Uh-huh.
and it appeared as though the world was looking. A few people uh, waiting, but it was caught. What happened is that usually when the promo is caught, it's just and also sent out to all of the different places where we post. It just doesn't make sense to do a new one and send it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So having called that, I started to ponder, and just in that moment, people started calling me. It was on the words defiant
Hmm.
and typographically defiance was written, and then non-compliant and non-compliance within the context of which the sentence was used.
Hmm.
But people started calling me, so I think the only thing that I could do was to put a quick, you know, um, should I call it a disclaimer or a correction, or just
Hmm.
put something
Yeah.
on Facebook. But the unfortunate thing is that the other places like WhatsApp, because the way it was sent out, it was directly from the phone's gallery, and
Yeah.
so the correction could not transcend over
Yeah.
to the other places. I don't know if you notice it, but I
I
say at least people are reading.
Yeah, exactly. That many people are following. I did not notice it, but I also do know that I've read books written by people who are experts, and I've seen errors in those things. So
Absolutely, most of our newspapers today, typo errors, and sometimes it's not the intent, but
yeah,
when you're rushing to do things, and most of the time we're crunch, we're
yeah,
doing our personal stuff, we're doing work, we're doing other things, and so stuff like that happens. But somebody called me and started to joke and say, "Oh, your issue room people act like you know English, and look at you, you chapping or you." So I say, "Well, what if somebody does our flyer and we send the content to the person?
yeah,
Of course, we take full responsibility for it, but that doesn't mean that how many times people don't send their information. The very passport division in Liberia, the people look at your knee and spell it different. You print your knee and they spell it different. You got to go back and say, listen, this is not my name. I got to change this passport or something. But these things happen. And I just thought that, okay, uh, well, that to tell you that man is fallible.
absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's a word that you just took from my mouth.
Yeah.
As as human beings, we are all infallible. There's no perfect being. We do make mistakes. That's what makes us human beings. But guys, I want to say it's good to be with you this evening uh, for this other important discussion. Once again, let me say Happy New Year, even though today is the 5th, but January is still rolling. So thank you,
Thank
Alfonso
you.
and Volcano,
I'm very
Yeah.
more than
teaming
10
up.
from the. I'm very more
Yeah.
than 10 from behind.
So, but man, listen, man, we're here tonight. We also going to be doing an hour and a half. This is where we want to go now. It's the new year. We have to stick to the plan. We're not going to be like the other platform and just randomly go on forever. So we want to stay in production. We know why we're here tonight. A lot of things happening in Liberia, particularly the transition period. And Moses, it was your recommendation to hold this conversation because, and I know, yeah, I mean, we recommend,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
We do talk. Yeah. Every one
yeah,
of us,
and yeah,
yeah.
and so yeah,
Go ahead.
so we needed to look at it from the context of why, all of the political
You
wrangling,
frozen?
who's frozen? You? I'm not. I'm good. So while the political wrangling, while the issues with respect to this
Okay.
simple transition that should have taken place, smoothly, as we put it, and we're having all this issue, there are people who are defiant, okay, and swear they're not going to meet other people who's supposed to meet with them to give status report and hope that those people who are coming in can have something to start with rather than and you remember back in the day when we were at LBS and even in the heyday of the war when some of the ceasefires took place and we started having these transitional governments with representation from the political party and civil society and then all of the warring factions if you recalled
Yeah.
people were put people in places and we had turning over ceremonies
Of course.
when this group is appointed and they're coming in, we sit there, we listen to the new man and the
Yeah.
old man,
And
and we
everything
have
over.
that
Yeah.
turning over. We didn't do transitional, but we had turning over ceremonies, and it was peaceful, irrespective of who came in. We provided all the support, especially for LBS. In fact, we had a director general who lasted for 1 day. He was the
Yeah.
shortest director general in the history
Isn't
of
that this ball
LBS.
Vavli Dolly?
Yeah, and we're ready to, I think 1 or 3 days, and we're ready to work with our man because we all knew Vavle,
Yeah.
uh, and 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 so, but what is happening now? let's start with you, Moses, since this topic was dear to your
Yeah.
heart. And then I have some clips here about the situation at the legislature
Hmm.
with staffers now still on strike regarding, this whole thing. So let's start with you.
Well, let me say thank you, and let me say welcome to our many viewers, wherever they find themselves. I would like to appeal to everyone watching tonight to just help us by sharing the link. Invite more people to be a part of this discussion. You know, as a podcaster, I'm sure like you and Alfonso, uh, we on a religious basis, I'll say religiously, and I'll follow happenings in Liberia. Not because we want to come across as critical, but because we want to come across as informed. So the current situation we're talking about here is something that the three of us on this podcast are aware of. Let me take you back to November 14 when they had the runoff election. We noticed that as the results were being released, and Mr. Boakai and President Weah were actually going neck to neck. Unfortunately, Mr. Boakai was declared winner after he accumulated over 28,000 votes ahead of George Weah, which just put in a little over 1% of the total vote cast. And Mr. Weah, as he does usually, I would say, even though we came here, we praise him. But I think that the decision by Mr. Weah to call uh, the incoming president to concede defeat, he made that decision again impulsively. He acted in the moment. He considered defeat, and which people all over the world applauded him. I think Mr. Weah, as an individual who acts in the moment, he did not factor in that he was making a very important decision at that time. So when he considered defeat, he was maybe erroneously of the view that he would have stayed for another 6 years, while Omer Bwaka waiting before taking over. So he considered defeat, he pledged support, and we all saw the photos that he took at the executive mansion when the incoming president and his team met with Mr. Weah and his outgoing officials at the executive mansion. Everybody was in an upbeat mood. They took photos and they all agreed to work in unison to make the transitional process very smooth. And that's what the Constitution calls for. That's what Liberian expects. Since
And let me just add this part
yeah, go
that
ahead.
he
Hmm.
enjoyed that process.
Yeah,
His transition went smooth from the same unity party to the
yeah.
CDC. And I just
Hmm.
wanted to add that in.
You're absolutely right, and it's good that you introduce that because it's good to do that reflection. And when he won in 2017, the outgoing administration cooperated with his team fully. They did everything possible to make sure that the transition process was handled smoothly. So it was the same expectations that Liberian had that this transition, the process will be handled, with a high degree of efficiency, cooperation, and all of that. Now, they put together a presidential transitional team, bringing together, representation from the outgoing administration and the incoming administration. Now, what we have been hearing is that there has been, to a greater extent, a breakdown when it comes to the sharing of information, talking to various groups regarding, okay, what are you living here? It's like anyone going to a new job, someone leaving that position will actually leave a turnover note that when you come, you know exactly where to start from. What we are hearing, what we are reading about obtaining right now is that insiders of Mr. Weah's administration, especially at the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of the Ministry of Transport, and other key sectors of the government. All of these individuals have deliberately refused to cooperate. And even let me bring in Samuel Tue at the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Tue and his people, they are dragging their feet. They're not supporting the process. They're stalling the whole process. And even we are told that the government, is saying that it is financially, bankrupt. It has no money to finance the transition. So this is worrisome, and I think it is a deliberate attempt by Mr. Weah and his people to stall the whole process, to make the transition process a little bit difficult, and to make it so complicated that the incoming administration will be challenged. I say so because of Volcano, as the government of Mr. Boaka and his team struggle to get things in place. Mr. Weah is still appointing people in government. How can someone heading what we call a lame dog, administration, meaning that you have a couple of days to fade out at the same time, appointing people to prominent positions, recruiting, civil servants all across the country just to complicate things for the incoming administration. I think this is important that we hold this discussion.
And I heard,
When you talk to insiders of Mr. Barker's administration, they tell you that they don't even know the invitees.
and I tell
So
you,
what is happening? Let me stop
I
there.
also heard that those people that are putting back on salary, they're increasing the salaries to prior the harmonization, so
Yeah.
that the new government can inherit the new salaries in as much as they harmonize those people's salaries and put the monies in the pocket. Now
Mhm.
they want to show off that responsibility to the new government. Let's hear from Alfonso on his end.
Yeah. No, thank you, guys. This is a very, very important statement. I mean, very important conversation, very important topic. That is something that I hope going forward, the people of Liberia, the legislature, the incoming administration, civil society organizations will look at very carefully. Transitional period, it's a very critical period in the history or in the life of any organization, any country for that matter. Because that's the time when nobody is exactly in charge, and when outgoing people could do anything they want to do. That's why, in my view, it's extremely critical to put guide rails around this kind of process. Unfortunately, as you and Moses have said, there are no real guide rails around this transition process. And so people are refusing to cooperate. People are doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. And that could hamstring the incoming administration. That could undermine not just the incoming administration, but basically everybody. I mean, if civil servants, because the country is broke or because the right transition didn't take place 2, 3 months from now, still haven't gotten paid, it's going to not just affect Boakai politically or the incoming, officials politically. It's going to also affect real lives. People not getting paid, they can't feed their homes, they can't pay their rents, they can't buy food. That's going to affect the economy of the country. It's going to affect children not having food, not being able to go to school, healthcare. So everything basically.
So let me just tease you. Hold that, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just wanted to support what you said. No
mhm,
guard rails
yeah,
to protect the process.
yeah,
People came in the CDC's government within 2 months. I mean 6 months. Put it that way. Within 6 months, and became thousand years and millionaires, and were buying big houses
mhm,
in affluent neighborhoods of Sincor.
mhm,
And you leave them to what is left now
yeah.
for the next 2 months. What's going to happen?
I'm
They're
gonna
People are
just
going to
playing.
walk away even extra rich. I just wanted to point that out.
No, you're absolutely correct. Um, let's look at the Josh Weir transition that's going on currently from Weir to Boakai. On November 21st, Mr. Weir issued Executive Order 123, setting up the Joint Transition Commission to facilitate the transition process. That executive order included absolutely nothing about safeguarding national assets, about people making reports, about people doing anything. The only thing it did was to set up a joint transition commission. It was through the background channels and instrumentalities of operatives in the incoming Barker administration that on December 27th, Mr. Weah issued or revised that executive order. Um, because again, they were getting no cooperation, nothing was going on, nobody knew what to do. We were hearing reports of government assets being abused and taken over by people, even vehicles, license plates being taken, a vehicle being sprayed, and all of that. So it was again through background channels that President Weah withdrew that first executive order 123 that was issued on November 21st, issue a new executive order on December 27th, or a revised executive order on December that
And, and,
included,
and that's more than 1 month of
yeah,
vacuum.
exactly, exactly. And it was in that new executive order that even something such as suspension of all borrowings, such as the administration cannot go and borrow, suspension of entering into new contracts with new companies and all of that was suspended. They also introduced the provision that no government office or institution should spend any amount $10,000 and over without the approval of the president. You can accumulate new debt. Um, it also included suspension of new hiring because again, there were reports all out there that specifically the ones I heard at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they were sending people overseas. They were hiring people and sending them to various missions all around. Somebody was telling me in Newark, New Jersey, that they encountered somebody who went in a gathering and told them he had just come. He was just sent to the Liberia mission to the United Nations, and he was in the gathering with his family. They had just come. So again, it was based upon all of these that these split things were put into place. Unfortunately, they still are not being followed to the letter. Real quickly, the major problem I believe is that and I was having conversations with some people, is that unfortunately we do not have any law on the books in Liberia guiding transition periods. And so it is my hope, and that is a conversation I was having with other people, that a law needs to be put into place guiding transition period. Other than that, what the only person really who put into place, who started this transition was Ellen Sirleaf, and Ellen Sirleaf included whatever she wanted to include in her executive order, even though it was expensive, even though it was better than what we are issued, but at least it relied on her magnanimity. It relied on her to do that. And this transition period, equally, in the absence of a law, really relies on what Mr. Weah and his people are willing to do um, in terms of law. So the people in the incoming administration are simply just negotiating and pushing and making these people to do the right things. Whereas if we had a law in place, it will bind them. Not that that they'll do it, but at least the law will say you must do this, and if you don't do this, there will be XYZ repercussions for not doing it. So I think going forward, that's one thing that the income administration, all of us need to insist on, that there's a law put into place to guide transitions in Liberia.
I think the process should just have the kind of fidelity
Yep.
required, especially when you've enjoyed the love, the admiration of the Liberian people for 6 years, and then there's decided that, listen, you didn't do right by us, and we want to change you. There's no need to be disgruntled. There's no
Hmm.
need to come back and because you're not hurting the incoming government, you're still hurting the people of Liberia. And someone wrote, I think in our last broadcast, that everything that we are is doing is to support the Liberian people, because he's the man who put in this transition team together. I'm sure he's the one who appointed his
Yeah, he appointed his people. Yeah.
members, and so he should be the one to say, "Hey, if you're not pulling your string or if you're not cooperating, I'll pull you and replace you." But the second thing here, from my perspective, is that they exhausted their personal coffers to the extent. Communist Wizard was just on a sister network, Spoon, and he talked about how much money was spent during these elections. And he believes that he lost the election because he didn't have money to persuade the people in River G, even though the question was asked, what did you do? Name some of the things that you did for your people to have reinstated you, but he just couldn't say it. But the fact here is that they expended so much money, and they're wondering, listen, man, we ain't got me to spend no more money on this transition thing. We already trying to keep the last to start on a new, page after January 22nd. So we'll just do it any kind of mango way, whatever it is. Come January 22nd, the old man would get his sash and his cap and his gown, whatever they put on him, and he will start from there. I'm thinking of that because yes, they spend so much money unnecessarily. You're talking the tune of $50+ million on an elections that you won by the skin of the teeth. That in itself is demoralizing. That from me, I mean, for me, I'm thinking that that's part of the reason why a lot of the key people are disgruntled and they're not willing to cooperate because they were so bent on being in power till 2029. Some of them had laid out how much more money they were going to add to their account, how much more property, how much more wealth, how much more places they were going to travel, the private jet, they were ready to fuel it and all of that. So that's my perspective. What do you think, gentlemen?
Look, even before I answer your question, I just want to speak briefly to what Mr. Weiser said. Commander Weiser from River G. He said he didn't, he was seen re-elected because other people outspent him. I beg to differ with the outgoing senator on that. If he had actually performed for the past 9 years, the election of the incoming president Joseph Boakai speaks to the fact that when you do good, the people will reward you for the good, that you did. We saw what happened with Dow's DeLong campaign in 2020. The CDC outspent. DeLong came in absolutely broke, but because he stood for principle, he made his presence felt in the Senate. He was re-elected. Some Senator Wisa didn't do any good job. What can he speak to in terms of accomplishment in Rwanda, even nationally? What did he do for Liberia? So I think he's just trying to, come across like Senator Sherman, who said, well, he went to Cape Mount, and the people did not ask him what he was doing in the Senate. They said the people that will ask you, or you should be telling them what you
All
did
your
in the
work,
Senate.
no, your work should speak for itself.
Your what you speak for yourself. So now, coming back to this whole thing regarding the non-compliance posture of the Mr.
Some members. Let's put it some elements within the CDC.
Yeah, to a greater extent, even the president himself is non-compliant.
Yeah.
Volcano, because if this guy issue a declaration, putting in place their head, they're going to be a freeze on hiring or the recruitment of new employees in the public sector, and he turns around and appoint Musa Dane. He appoints Musa Dane as Associate Supreme Court Justice. He appoints Wolokoli as Maritime Commissioner.
You mean no? You mean LRA?
I mean LRA, Commissioner General of the Revenue Authority. Doesn't that violate the very declaration that he made? The government instituted, a freeze that we were not hired. But he went ahead at the same time appointing people. They say, hey, how are we going to fund this? The administration comes back and say, oh, well, we don't have money to finance the inaugural ceremony. This is constitutional. Do you expect the incoming administration to finance this out of its pocket? You can't do that. When you won the presidency in 2017, Liberians gave you all the support that you needed.
and including the outgoing government.
Yes. Volcano, let me pause there,
Yeah,
man. This is
but one of the
frustrating.
things just before Alfonso coming quick, one of the things I wanted to point out too, um, when you look at the process, the man speaks about crookerish. Okay, when he was talking about
Very,
okay,
very.
isn't that being a crook?
The Grand Cru English
Yeah,
game,
yeah,
bro.
isn't that being a crook, right? Because if you look at the fact that you said no more, everything freezes
Yeah.
because we don't have, to do anything now.
Yeah,
Let's just
because we
focus on
are a
turning
limb
over.
dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just focus on turning over.
Mhm.
Then what exactly are you telling the people who now becoming intransigent, who becoming defiant, who becoming non-compliant to the process, right?
Mhm.
You setting the tune. This a leader sets the tune, and if you setting the tune by going contrary to what you have already, that's being crookerish. Let me speak this
Of
English.
course, yeah.
That the English go eh? Let me add something called
It's good.
yeah. That's being crookerish, right?
Yeah.
So, and then not only that, you also adding the quid pro quo
Yeah.
being crookerish.
Pay to play.
Yeah, you telling the legislators, listen, y'all gotta do this for us to give this.
Yeah. Can you
and
imagine
and,
that?
and, and once you get that, you can push it thing quick before this section. You ask
Mhm.
for extension, you won't get it, the extension benefit. You playing crookerish. You
Yeah.
understand me? So Alfonso, sorry, coming.
It, and Volcano, Alfonso, quickly, I just want to say, Volcano, you know what the guy is doing? You see, look, George Weah is a very dishonest guy. He knows that the legislature, you know, will officially close on Tuesday. So he, Twe, and the other guys got together. They said, look, while it is true that we're trying to push our men, but we do know that there are some senators in our place, you know, that will now vote for Musa Din, that will now vote for Samora. So
Let's take
do we make the payment?
Mhm.
We make the payment now, all the people will get money. Whatever they refuse to confirm our people. So they
So
say, okay, let's throw the
confirm
bill.
the people first, then
Yeah,
we pay.
confirm the bill for the
And the
money.
people say on the other side, we will confirm you're not paid. So
So
that way,
that pay to
let's
play.
explain it right there. Alfonso,
Yeah, no, that's those are all important points, and I totally agree. Volcano, you make a point about this whole thing shouldn't be about fussing. They should just do exactly what was done with them when they were coming in. They should just follow the law. After all, an executive order is also law, by the way.
Mhm.
Um, but in addition to that, just do the right thing. I mean, your government lost and you leave in office. If you actually did good stewardship of the office you ran, it shouldn't be difficult for you to just turn over documents and inform the incoming people in terms of the programs you have been running, where you are, resources and those kinds of things, and just turn over. It shouldn't be difficult at all. That's what it's supposed to happen. Unfortunately, in Liberia, and also as part of human nature, you know, when you don't hold people accountable for their actions, when people are free, when they can just do things and go with impunity, they tend to do the wrong thing sometimes. And that's why I was advocating for a law that will really hold them accountable. And look at the situation you are talking about. There's law that says that, government officials, when they leave in office within a certain time frame, should declare their assets. The Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission has been after these people to declare assets.
Nobody.
A lot of them have refused. What has
Mhm.
President Weah said?
Nothing.
Crickets. Nothing. I mean, if he was serious, he could have said, "Look, guys, you have to follow the law and declare your answer. And if you don't declare your answer, I'll fire you." You know, you have to declare your answer within this time frame. That's what the law says. Instead of that, he's hiring new people. He's putting people in office. I mean, what is the rush Why does Liberia need an associate justice right now?
At
Why
this
does
time.
Liberia need a new revenue authority commissioner general right now? We do not. The Supreme Court can function with four justices. It has done that before.
And what I
It
heard
does
too,
that.
what I
Yeah,
heard
it
too,
does. Yeah,
constitutionally they can move a judge from the lower court up to the
yeah,
upper court to fill the
exactly.
branch so they can have a quorum.
Absolutely. They can elevate a circuit judge if the need requires. But
Yeah,
every now and then, Supreme Courts function with less number of the full bench.
of
When,
course.
for example, when justices recuse themselves because the case that come before them, they have interest, they recuse themselves all the time. And when justices recuse themselves, the other group of justices continue. They don't say, let's hire somebody, let's wait until this. They still vote. When I forget the situation here, when this justice um, passed away and Obama nominated, it took 8 months, 8 or 9 months after the election, waited until after the election before a new justice was nominated by Trump and took over. The Supreme
You talking
Court of
about
the
the
United
lady,
States were up.
yeah, the lady who passed away.
Yeah,
She
Yeah.
was there
Ruth
was a
Bader
female.
Ginsburg, I believe,
Yeah.
RBG. So it took months with the U.S. Supreme Court functioning with it and not nine justices. There have been instances in Liberia, as I said, where justices are recused. Johnny Lewis, who was Chief Justice, got sick, was now on the bench for some time. The Supreme Court functioned with four justices. So there's no urgency. So the only reason why we are is fighting to put somebody in there right now is either to reward, a loyal soldier um, who has helped him do his dirty work, or to put somebody in place who will obstruct other processes, such as the accountability regime and everything that's coming into place. That those are the only reasons, other than that come to my mind. Why do we need an LRA director general right now? And the reason why it's not even the reason why it smells bad is that these positions, like the IRA commissioner, is a tenured position. You're putting somebody there who, by law, will be there for years. The income administration cannot remove him or fire him. So basically, they're stuck with him, except they can prove that he did something, criminal. But why do you want to hamstring the income administration by putting people in place who are not necessarily, in line with their policies and agenda? The
Let me
only thing that comes to my mind is, go
let me
ahead, go
throw
ahead.
this in. Yeah, let me throw this
Mm,
in. And you
mm.
see what people don't understand, and I want to make this point so both of you can follow the conversation here. They're doing this now, but they're anticipating 2029. But then this is the government that you'll be inheriting power from come
Yeah.
2029 if you are to win again. Because then it will be IE and Barrow. It looks like
Yeah. Yeah.
CDC and UP will be the IE and Barrow in Liberia. One year we carry the trophy, another year you
Yeah.
carry the
Mhm,
trophy,
Yeah.
you become arch
mhm.
rivals, and that's it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
do all this nonsense now, and then comes 2029, and you luckily come back, as we are saying, he might be back, and he comes and mesmerize the Liberian people and tell us, listen, I was a Bele, now I've grown up. I'm able to run this country. I want to still build my coastal highway. You'll give me a chance. I want to build a Bali Island. You'll give me a chance. All of the things. Then you go through the transition period, and then this outgoing government hypothetically doesn't give you the relation, I mean the kind of relationship and cooperation that you need,
Yeah.
then
Then
you're
what
gonna
happened?
say, oh, look at them, they didn't want to work with us.
Yeah.
Think about it. I just thought
Yeah, yeah.
it came to my mind. Let me
No,
just
that's an important point you make. Let me
yeah, since
just
you were
buttress.
in league. Yeah, since you were in league, go ahead, Alfonso.
Very important point. Let me just buttress that point. Let's say the CDC comes back to power in 2029. Oh, God forbid, but they do, and this
You
administration
say
is
go
going,
for bid.
and
What's so evil about the CDC? You say go for bid.
right, yeah, but and this administration is an outgoing administration. They can do the same thing as you were saying, Volcano. So right after the election, and they lose, I can just go ahead and ask the Director General of the Liberia Revenue Authority to resign, and I put somebody there. Let's say the president got 1 year on the term. I ask them, my man resign, take some money, and I put Moses there for another 6 or 7 years. I go to
Yeah.
Maritime, I do the same thing. I go to play, I do the so you hear all of my people in there, they could do that could happen.
Yeah.
That could happen. And you coming in now, you can't even turn around.
Yeah.
That is the reason why this what they're doing here is not the right thing to do. Unfortunately, uh, for most of the attorneys, they have not done the right thing. So we can expect them to do the right thing. That's why again I was saying if there was some enforcement, legal and enforcement regime by which we could hold them accountable, sometimes that will coerce them to do the right thing, knowing that if they don't do the right thing, they can be held accountable. But
Let me, let
yeah,
me
that's yeah. Go ahead.
let me add this other thought in. Moses, you
Yeah.
and
Go
I
ahead.
know here in the US, for instance, in my role, I because it's an executive position, I have to give 30 days to resign, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In the process of giving my 30 days, I can say hopefully the hire so I can train that person. At
Yeah.
least give them, you know, an
Hands
entry
on.
into the
Yeah.
door.
Yeah.
You would think that the transitional team having 2 months would embrace this opportunity to create that relatability in terms of, yeah, you are coming in. This is where I left off. These are some of my projects that are dear to my heart. Please take on. And if there's anything, I'm always available. And you
Yeah.
see the letter you will leave, like I'm always a phone call away. You can reach
Yeah.
me. I will always be there. Irrespective of you not being the minister, you're still a viable asset to the country.
Of course.
Exactly.
And I just thought to throw that out there because you and I here, when we put our letter of resignation in, if the company is able to hire within a quick
Getting period
turnaround,
time. Yeah.
yes, we're able to stay on board, help
Mm-hmm.
that person transition them into position, and even the company may say, "Can you give us an additional 2 weeks?" There's still
Yeah.
pay coming, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
extend your termination by two
Yeah.
more weeks or so just to help that person because some positions are so critical that a man can just walk in and just find his way. He
No.
needs some kind of guidance, and no
Yeah.
one at the top got the time. The president not gonna come down to say, "Let me come teach the incoming defense minister what the
No.
military look like and all of that. What's the arsenal and all of that." That is why it's important for this transition to take place, and it must be done rather in a way that is friendly, in a way that is patriotic. Put it that way, that is honest and is about the country.
And I agree with you 100%. And that's the essence of whenever a new administration is coming in, especially at the state level, you always have this kind of transitions that you give the incoming person, look, we were building two rows, we paid $25, now we owe the company $75. You provide all the vital information. You make this process so friendly that even tomorrow when you are out there, don't forget, it is a relationship. It's about the country. You will continue to interact with these people. Now, and one thing that supporters of the CDC are really missing out on Volcano is that you hear them talk about, oh, well, the election, the outcome of the election result was so close. So there's a need for an inclusive administration. Now, how can you be calling for an inclusive administration at the same time being mean to the incoming administration? You don't want to give Mr. Boaga the opportunity to effect the necessary changes, but at the same time, your supporters, including Funati Kofa, they are saying that, oh, well, we need an inclusive. You see the double standard? They say one thing, they do the irony of it. This is not helpful. This is not in the interest of the country. Look at what is happening, right? You have not paid civil servants for 2 months or even more than 2 months. The incoming administration has nothing to start with. The administration coming, they need to find money to pay these people because if they don't pay these people for the time served, that's going to create an impediment for the administration.
Let me add this so you can
Yeah,
continue in that trend.
yeah, go
And
ahead.
I just jotted it down before you even
Hmm.
took that lead. Part of the transition is to appease, to satisfy
Yeah,
the citizens. In as much as they didn't vote for you, you will come back and you will want them. So if you're thinking that you're going to come back in 2029, it is only prudent for you to ensure that you leave some kind of legacy so that
right.
when you come back, it resonates with them 6 years later. But you refuse flat out to pay the
Hmm.
people.
The pay the bill, yeah.
You got people protesting. You know how shameful it is for the people to take debris. Because what the barricades they're making at the Capitol there is
Of course,
debris.
yeah, yeah,
It's
debris,
not like
yeah.
the state people
Hmm.
bringing
Yeah,
good
yeah.
stuff to block the place. They're bringing old barrel and stick and all kinds of stuff to come in and demoralize the first branch of government by saying that nobody gonna work. It's not gonna happen if you look as don't pay attention to us. So this government, the CDC government, is making so many mistakes that will come down to hunt them come 2029. Even though they think that Liberians can forget easily, but with social media now and the records are there, we need to be careful on how we run government, on how we act in leadership, because posterity will judge us. And I just wanted to throw that in as you were in your lead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but look, Volcano, let me just piggyback on this whole thing about George Weah and the CDC, erroneously believing that they're going to come by 2029. I would like to join Alfonso to say that
God forbid.
even if I vote for you,
No, say God forbid. Now.
I mean, it's God forbid. It's a dream that is far fetched. I don't see the possibility, especially for Mr. Weah himself. George Weah, he will go down in history as the worst. His ascendancy to the presidency came as a serious mistake. I don't think Liberians are prepared to have a George Weah again coming as president, because how do you bring somebody who does not even understand how to run a room, as president? So Mr. Weah has demonstrated this consistently in every aspect of leadership. So I can tell you that George Weah, if you are fortunate after this uh 22nd, you just back off and go ahead, play music, play sports, and do what you got to do to make life better for you and your family. The presidency, national leadership is not for you. It's not for the CDC. I can tell you, I'm not a fortune teller, but based on what the CDC has done over the year, I don't think Liberians are prepared to settle for another CDC administration again.
Thank you. Thank you. So
Yeah.
listen, we're right now at the point of intermission. It's 7:49 here in the city. You watching the Issues Room 211th broadcast here tonight on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We like to encourage you to please share our link, join us here. Let's have this conversation, participate by weighing in through our chat. You can speak of your mind. You can call in when we open the lines. But tonight we're talking about the transition between the CDC and the Unity Party and all of the issues going on with the lack of compliance and how some people are very defiant about cooperating with the process. And part of this whole process, as we look at it, it then tells us that the government is still making mistake even in its sinking of the Titanic. Is political Titanic. The sinking meaning that you still have people protesting all over the place because they have not been paid. Some people have become what we will consider uh, hopeless and say, "Oh, just wait for the new government." But what is the new government going to do if the new government does not have the cooperation or receive the cooperation from the outgoing government to tell the new government this is where we are and this is where we're leaving you. And we don't want to hear the story again of the Weah regime that said they inherited a broke government, but in months they were able to find $25 million from wherever and said they were doing mop-up exercise. 16 billion Liberian dollars in the tune of $100+ million walked away till today. No story, but they inherited a broke government. So we don't want that to happen. And part of that will go down to the clip. As you can see, staffers, you know, very mad about not being paid, and this shouldn't be happening in the transition period. And these are some of the things we're talking about.
Well, folks, welcome. This is Spoon TV. We're coming to you live from the Capitol building, the Capitol Hill here, where staffers of the Liberian Senate have blocked the entrance to the wing of the Liberian Senate. And as you can see, police officers have come. They had earlier on removed the blockage. They are earlier on removed the blockage from the main entrance here, but the protesters, including staffers of the Liberian Senate, came back and replaced the roadblock, and they are protesting for the special city. Charles Brown and other guys are the ones leading this protest action here live from Capitol Hill. From this side, these are vehicles of the lawmakers, including several senators, including the
Is the network that doing that?
Yeah, it's
Let's
okay.
remove that. Let's continue on. We have another one here.
Okay.
But as I'm talking and trying to get it in queue quick, when you look at the picture there, the police themselves have not been paid. That is why they're not so vigorous, and that is why they're just there to say, okay, they call us, we're law enforcement men, and we'll just show up. Because in any other situation, that barricade gone.
Of course,
You're
yeah.
chasing people from all of that place. But they themselves are feeling the pinch, of people.
Many people empathize with the workers.
Yeah.
Because they're going through the same problem.
So that's what I was looking at. So let's hear from this guy.
Here is after 6 p.m. Earlier on, we had some images of tension just when some guys who believe to be members of the CDC COP came into the building. They've left already. They came here just about a few minutes ago. They were outside the building, and the guys were suspecting that these guys were planted here to disrupt their protest. But what we can report to you and what we can tell you is that nothing of such took place. They did not disrupt the protest, even though there were suspicions of such. But the sergeant at arms on the both houses put them out. The implication is that there are 2 more days remaining for the legislature to close. That's Monday and Tuesday. As you know, the legislature should be closing on the 9th of January. And if the legislature closes on the 9th, there will be a new session. And that session is going to begin with the 55th legislature. And the 55th legislature is expected to start on the second working Monday of January, which will fall on the 15th of January. And so there will be a new legislature. Those that were voted out will leave, and those that got voted in, and the new other senators that got returned to as well, and the 15 other senators that did not go for election will also sit for a new sitting, similarly at the House of Representatives. 73 representatives as well will be sitting. So 2 individuals were nominated, and making it 3 is also the ambassador to the United Arab Emirates, who was also nominated by President George Weah. Well, amongst the 3, we got 2 individuals who are very much, cardinal, and a lot of people looking at those 2 nominations as very critical to the country. The Liberia Revenue Authority Commissioner General Thomas Donner was nominated. Sorry, that's Samurai Wolokoli. That's the designate of the Liberia Revenue Authority. Samura Wolokoli was nominated by President George Weah, and we also had Frank Musa Dean, who was also nominated as Associate Justice Designate. Those two individuals should have come here yesterday for their confirmation hearing. It did not go on as planned because the protest stalled those hearings. They did not, go on as planned. Today we heard that by 11 a.m. this morning there would have been another hearing. But as you can see, this protest is also still ongoing, and as you can see, this is day 2, and we can say so far that these protesters or staffers of the Liberian Senate might be getting some level of success from the action. The fact of the matter that the senators cannot convene in session, they cannot have their normal activities. They put some pressure on the Senate to ensure that they get their arrears and benefits. And so up to now, we cannot say as to whether they're in a negotiation, as to whether the guys are going to receive it anytime soon. But as we speak, they've not received the arrears that they are demanding. Earlier this morning, we also got new development that aside from the 2 months extra city arrears that the guys are demanding, they are also demanding 6 months of gasoline. According to them, about 6 months they've not been given the gasoline benefit as well. And 2 buses, according to them, should have been bought by the Liberia Senate. Those 2 buses have not been bought as well. And so they are demanding the insurance too as well for mutual insurance. According to them, they've taken their case, they've gone to the hospital, and all of those things, and the Senate took a contract with mutual insurance, and since then they're not able to pay the money to mutual insurance as well. So those are issues that they've also added on the 2 months extra city arrears that they are demanding. It's after 6 p.m. here. The speaker was here and he has left. Most of the representatives that came here, they left. And we said to you, only 3 senators were spotted in this compound and they all left later on. So as we can say, as you can see now, we can simply say that the 2 of this protest has come to end from our own broadcast standpoint, and we look forward to tomorrow what happens, because tomorrow is Saturday, anything can happen. We've seen cases that are precedent wherein budgets have been passed here even on Sundays. Legislature has convened on the Sunday to pass budget, and then some late evening sometimes they convene and have activities. But we are looking forward to what happens tomorrow, and then on Monday and on Sunday. I'm sorry, on Tuesday, at which time they're going to be closing. My name is Aaron Kuban, and on behalf of the entire team, earlier on with Haji Basale.
Thank you, young man. And we were able to take this, I believe, from Spoon Network. So congratulations to the young man. He did a good summary there. But
Volcano, let me just provide some background information. As a former legislative reporter, it is legal when lawmakers are on break and the president recalls the lawmakers. It is legal. The law provides that even if they come and spend a day at the Capitol for that special session, they are paid for the entire month. So the first time when Mr. Weah recorded lawmakers, you remember when they came back in December, they should have they spent 10 days, they should have paid them for a month. And that payment would have also covered their staff. Everybody, should have gotten compensation. The administration defaulted. They didn't pay the people for the first 10 days. Then this time around again, Mr. Weah recalled the lawmakers while they were on break. They came back for the second time for another 10 days. Again, the government has defaulted to make the payment. And like I was saying, when you pay the lawmakers, you are under obligations to also pay their staff. That's why you saw those workers saying that the government is obligated to them for 2 months. Some of those people make as low as $100 a month. Some make $200 a month. I heard one of the ladies say, look, I was here we were earning 1,600 Liberian dollars a month. When Mr. Weah and his people came to the presidency, she said her money was sliced. From 1,600, she started making $800 a month.
Stop.
I mean 8,000 Liberian dollars. She
So you
was
meant
making
16,000.
16, yes, she was making 16,000 Liberian dollars. When Mr. Weah and his people came, they sliced that to 8,000 Liberian dollars a month. So when you do the math, hypothetically, I think you're talking about anything less than 200 US dollars a month. You
Look,
know,
Moses, you don't go
And-
to Liberia.
mm,
$16,000 is way less than 100 US dollars.
no,
Moses,
okay, let's put it
listen
out
to
there.
me.
Okay. Oh yeah,
Sixteen
okay,
thousand dollars would be it would be at a rate of 160.
okay,
Today the rate is 190.
yeah,
Okay,
mhm,
so $16,000. So it would so $19,000 now is 100 US at a rate
okay,
of 190.
okay. Let's put it out there.
So
So
now
is
16,000 may be around 75, around about
yeah,
75.
and someone making as low as that, the people show up. These people traveling from one location to another volcano, you know how costly it is, and the kind of work nobody gives them anything.
But how
It
about the
is
man?
mo-
Oh no, how about the man who holding the water to flush the commode?
okay. Those guys will go down to
Yo,
Sunny
the
when they
slipway.
go down Kent Johnson Road, Slipway, or they go down to Capital Bypass and all of that. The guys are become modern slaves, modern day slaves. Towing water for these people a restroom. Can you imagine that? And these people have not been compensated. Yesterday, I saw one of the video to tell you how this is so shameful and embarrassing. The sitting vice president, Joe Howard Taylor, I don't know if you saw that video. She
Just
showed up to the Capitol.
and just swerve in another.
Yeah, and the guys literally boo her.
Yeah,
It was shameful. Can you imagine? The second in command could not even stop to talk to the employees.
but the woman is cocky. You know that, right?
Yeah, very cocky. She acted like they don't even exist. She got few police officers that show up to escort her to her office.
Mhm.
I mean, this is shameful. This is embarrassing. I don't think this is what Liberians expected.
Let me just open the line. You can continue your trend.
Yeah,
Look, folks, if
let me
you're
give
just
it to you
joining us here,
guys. I don't think that is what
if you're just
Liberians
joining us here
expected from
tonight,
Ghana.
welcome, 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 welcome. The line is open now. If you want to call in, just so you can weigh in on the conversation, you can also throw in a chat tonight. Just tell us what you think about the transitional process and how things are looking ugly in this season. So the number to call 404-272-2808 is right there, live, posted. 404-272-2808 if you want to participate in the conversation here tonight. Moses Sandy, Alfonso Yeno, and Volcano Shelton here with you this evening. Alfonso, I know you've been bouncing in and out, but yeah, so this is where we are.
No
Continued protest,
compensation.
within a transitional phase when things should be going smoothly. When this government should take a pride and knock his beat on his chest and say, we've paid all salaries, we're up to date, we look current,
Yeah.
we don't have anything to hand you in a negative sense, but this is where the economy is. These are the what I would call the achievables, and these are the things that we're looking at for you to take on and continue. If you want to tweak, if you want to do whatever, but this is where we're leaving off. You would think that would be the case, but yet we're still having all of this going on.
Chaos, 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 complete chaos. And that's the reason why an orderly transition period is important, right? Because when you have orderly transition, some of these things can be taken care of. Maybe the government truly they didn't have money to pay these people, even though I don't believe that. I think it's
But that would
negligence from
happen.
this.
But Alfonso, that is come on. If you spend $50 million,
Yeah.
look at
Well,
me.
so they
Listen,
should
I
have
was in
spent.
Liberia. I was in
Yeah.
Liberia. Every light pole had
Hmm.
we a banner.
Yep.
Every light pole on both sides of the road. I'm not
Look
making
at
this
that.
up.
No, 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 you're not making it. In fact, the EU observer mission have confirmed what you're saying. That everywhere was where. But the point is, they shouldn't have used government resources to do that. They should have used their party resources because government resources are there to pay people into the wrong government. Of course, that's the government that we have. No
But
control, no
Alfonso,
discipline. The
and not to cut you off, Alfonso. Let me just ask you a question. Are you telling me say use the party resources, the CDC that you and I know, Alfonso, Volcano, the CDC? Could the CDC even afford a bag of rice? The people literally looted the public coffers. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Alfonso. He's frozen. Go ahead, Volcano.
It's not frozen.
no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
I think go ahead. I was hesitant because I was frozen a little bit. I don't know if you hear me or not.
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead. Go
frozen. That's
ahead.
Go ahead.
why I kept quiet. Um, you're right. You're right. They didn't have it. We don't know the but and utilizing them. Okay. I'm saying that's not an excuse for them to take public resources and use them for private enterprises. They're supposed to raise a lot of money from the public. I mean, if we all were here, we saw, on Spoon, they were, doing fundraising and people who were contributing. They could have done that. Don't take the government money and run your campaign and leave the poor people who are doing the work hanging. That's cruel. And that's what we have here today. Now, if the transition was orderly, maybe they would have just said, "Look, my people, we don't have money to pay these people. You will inherit this. Can we have this conversation?" And then maybe the incoming administration will even have conversation with these employees and come to the table and let us go through the process. But if you're not cooperating these are some of the things that you have in the transition process.
It continues to freeze.
Yeah, I don't know. Go
But,
ahead,
but
Volcano.
as it
Yeah, I
freezes,
have
one
a
of the things
lot of yeah.
I you gotta work hard for that Wi-Fi because I had to do a lot and I had to change network. I had to buy a computer, and so it's not coming from me anymore. I think it's coming from you. And sometimes the Wi-Fi, based on the weather, we know it's supposed to be snowing and maybe having an impact.
Unfortunately, this is not Liberia.
So continue. We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, oh, man. That's true, Emmanuel. There will be a huge budget shuffle. Yeah.
But as he was
Yeah,
talking,
no, go ahead. Let me close some with it,
yeah,
Papa.
yeah, it came to mind. It came to mind as he was talking, when you intend to leave on a good note,
Maybe it's me.
right?
I
Mhm.
have like 200 stuff.
So then close up some of your pages. But when you intend to leave on a good note, you will do what is right, right? You will have that sit down and you will be very congruent, very honest about what you have, achieved and what you didn't achieve, and reasons for those things not being achieved. I see people posting all on the internet as to where's the Bali Island
Mhm.
where we were so elated about. Where's the coastal highway? I wanted to drive on that coastal highway straight to Maryland. Where is this? Where is that? Of course, the president made some accomplishment. Put it that way. He built a 14 military hospital. He built 4 parks in the country. The latest is PHP, and everybody's raving about it. But it's fresh pin now because it's open in the dry season. But let the first 2 rains come and hit that park and see what it will look like. And one of the things I think I wrote on one of those pages, maintenance.
Of course.
Maintenance. So this government building these parks should have put the structure in place to maintain those parks, and that when the incoming government takes over, they can just move from right there. But I'm sure they
Mhm.
build those parks with nothing in the document to say, hey, this is how we're going to maintain, this is how we're going to raise the money. It may be an open park, but sometimes people want to use the park for the personal stuff. They can pay a fee and take a session. And you know how we do here in America?
Yeah,
That's what the park.
yeah, to maintain the park.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't
we
use
go
it
to
for
parks that
free.
we pay it. We
Yeah,
pay fees for using the park. Yeah,
right. You can hold a whole wedding at that park.
yeah, at a park.
Instead of
Yeah.
going to a hall, you got a good dry town wedding.
Hmm.
You put some tents out, and people come and enjoy the sea breeze,
Hmm.
beautiful pictures, and all of that. But nobody's thinking. Let me tell you something. People come to this position only to steal, and as a result, they don't know how to generate money. How
No.
can you have how can you have an institution of the National Transit Authority and tell you say they ain't got no bus to run, but the purpose of them being established is to ease transportation
Yeah,
on
problem.
the
Yeah.
public. But they ain't got no bus to run, but the government is committed to paying them salary. And the
Yeah.
only thing that they got in the budget was salary.
Salary. Yeah.
Why is that institution functioning when it's not delivering on any of the reason why it was established?
Yeah.
We got
Yeah.
paper men doing more better job than the NTA. We got camen doing better job than the NTA. We got local bus drivers doing better job than the NTA. Yet we take monies and we put it in people's pocket and they're giving nothing back to the country. This is the kind of nonsense that got our country where it's at. This is it.
That's
So
true.
these institutions are, if they can't provide 50% of the livelihood, shut them down.
Yes.
Shut them down. Don't pay salaries to National Transit Authority when they don't have one bus running. And the man comes to confirmation hearing and declares that. And yet, or confirmation hearing is not confirmation, Senate Standing Committee hearing, put it
Yeah.
that way. And he
Yeah.
declares that. And yet he goes back and draws salaries up to the end of this government.
And
Tell me,
performs no
how are
job.
we going to change
So,
the country?
yeah,
Why put people in places
you
where they're not even
yeah.
thinking to raise their own money in their institution,
Mhm.
devising ways? All they want is to put money in the pocket, but they don't know how to create and generate income. Go ahead, Alfonso.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. We have a lot of institutions of government that should be generating resources and paying for their own services that are not productive. Um, Part of the reason, I mean, I think there are two major reasons why they are not productive. One of the reasons is that the government, the central government, the legislature, the executive are not giving them the resources that they need. For instance, if the National Transit Authority doesn't have buses to run, it falls on the legislature, it falls on the executive. How you establish an institution that is supposed to be providing services to the public, to the citizens, but you don't give them the resources to provide services. The only thing you do, you say, okay, we put 500 employees in this place, and you just give them money to pay salaries. Of course, the director and the employees in that place are not going to generate resources to generate money to do that. So that is the problem.
And let me just say something quickly about you know um, the honor performance of some government entities, and I would like to focus really on the transport authority,
And that is
the
why
national.
that is
Yeah.
why they're
Hmm.
not cooperating because they
Yeah.
got nothing to present. Go ahead, Moses.
Yeah, that's true. Take for example, let's take the case of the NTA. NTA was set up. The transit authority was set up primarily to provide affordable transportation for the poor in Monrovia. Mr. Weir and his people came to power. When they came, MTA had 45 buses donated by foreign countries. Um, they broke 30 of those buses down and they couldn't maintain the other 15, and everything just went into shambles. Now, to undermine the work of the transit authority, what they did, they took most of the government contract and gave it to the chairman on executive for transportation, Sir Joseph. Sir Joseph went into a transportation business that competed with the government. Sir Joseph came to Monrovia, I mean, came to the United States bought a lot of used buses, these yellow buses, school buses, and took them to Monrovia. Took them to Monrovia. He said he was introducing affordable transportation. But Mr. Joseph, you work for government. You chairman on the executive. The very government sits there and allow this man to undermine the work of the transit authority. Nobody says nothing there. I mean, nobody says anything about that. So most of these government institutions, why they are really underperforming, because we have people in government that are engaged in activities that undermine the performance of this institution. Take, for example, LBS. LBS is a state broadcaster. You have every lawmaker in our country owning their own radio station. When these people should also be advocating for more budgetary allocation for the state broadcaster to make the state broadcaster efficient, hold the state broadcaster accountable. That hey, we are paying your salaries, we are paying for your equipment. We want you to promote programs. We want you to produce programs that will sustain the peace and stability of this country. But you have the president with a mini radio station and TV. I show you, I heard about King FM. The man got his own radio station, he got his own TV. Sir Joseph has his own. This other guy, Koji, got his own radio station. Thomas Fowler got a radio station. Everybody got a radio station. So who is going to pay attention to EOBC? You see what is happening? The Minister of Education, the man runs private schools. And this is the man who's supposed to be what? Advocating for the educational system of Liberia. The Minister of Health, she runs her own clinics, hospitals. JFK, how is JFK going to perform when the people who are supposed to be looking out, making sure that these institutions are funded? They are all involved into their own little businesses that undermine the performance of this institution. And lastly, let me say this: what makes the current situation in Liberia so sad is that Mr. Weah and his people claim they refer to him as quote unquote Liberia best president, right? The man came, he said since 1847, he's the best in the history of Liberia. How can someone who say he's the best in the history in terms of leadership, but he refuses to pay salaries to civil servants? He has torn down almost every key sector of the country. That's what I said, George Weah is a terrible mistake. Let me stop there, gentlemen.
Well, thank you, man. Listen, I just got a hint from Ablige, and
Okay.
they want us to see if we can start broadcasting on their online
Okay,
platform,
that would be nice.
television, radio in Buchanan, Grand
That
Bassa
would,
County. So we'll look into that and see what's in
okay.
it, because this is
Yeah,
always.
we can work it out. Yeah.
But gentlemen, listen, we talked about this whole transition period, and again, as I said, with these kinds of opportunities for us to be able to get on local radios and stuff, we need to kind of streamline our broadcast into the hour
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes when we originally started, and we
Mm-hmm.
need to hopefully stick to the plan because it's only viable for us to be able to do that if we have to air on other
Behind the scene.
platforms. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I think we talked about it. The hope is we'll come back and wrap it up, but the hope is that in these last few weeks to I would call it a couple of weeks to the 22nd of January, things will improve, hopefully. Um, I don't know how much improvement that will be, but it is the hope. So as part of our segment, since we're running out of time, we'll do memory lane, and then we'll do what type of country, then we'll close. So again, we want to thank all of you who've been there with us. Continue to remain because we want you to weigh in on the what type of country is this. But in the meantime, let's do memory lane, And this one is by our regular contributor, Dr. Manis Sumo. And he sends this one titled Africa's Cotton Field versus America's Cotton Field. So I have been thinking lately, thinking so much, but I have this question. Does cotton grow in West Africa? Y'all know that Western Africa dominates the production of cotton in Africa. There are 11 heavily cotton producing countries in the region of West Africa, to include Benin, Burkina Faso, Chad, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, and Togo. In the United States of America, states like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Texas produced the most cotton during the days of slavery. So, cotton was or is produced in both the USA and Western Africa. Cotton is the reason. Cotton transformed the United States, making the fertile land into the deep south from Georgia to Texas extraordinarily valuable. Those days, growing more cotton meant an increased demand for slaves. Slaves in the upper south became incredibly more valuable as commodities because of this demand for them in the deep south. Did I just say commodities? Yes, our ancestors were commodities. They gave the values. In our modern day, like today, cotton growing is still a lucrative business in Western Africa. Especially so, the cotton growers today are paid laborers. Today, cotton laborers get paid for working on cotton farms in both the USA and Western Africa. If growing cotton was a significant reason for the Atlantic slave trade, and growing cotton transformed the USA to what it is today, then why is it the case of Western Africa different? From the point of human development, economic development, infrastructure development, can Chad, Togo, Niger be compared to Texas, Georgia, and or Louisiana? Despite them being cotton producing countries, why is there no comparison? Do you see production as the problem, or do you surmise management as the problem? Do you see honesty as the problem, or can you deduce corruption as the reason for the vast difference? Do you see me or you, I mean you, yes, you, as the problem? Who do you see? You cannot transfer expectation when you cannot expect to be expected. Cotton was heavily produced in the USA at a time when there were no yellow machine, just as cotton is produced today in Western Africa with almost no yellow machine. So why is it that our heavily cotton producing countries are still poor? The people of Lofa County are known for great agriculture production. All hail Lofa County. Joseph Yuma Bwaka is a veteran agriculturalist. We salute you, sir. Too much of expectations for the new president. But are you expected? The president cannot do it all alone. The expectation is you, and me. Can Liberia beat the cotton field pandemic, the pandemic of corruption that have crippled our nation? It's time we all come together as one value, one people, and one nation. And this is written by Manisumo. He says, I come in peace. And the caption here tonight for this one is Africa's cotton field versus America's cotton field.
Another great piece.
Yeah. So I think the irony here is that we have all of this, but yet we can't show anything for it.
and part of it is that was value added. So people who grew the cotton in those days, they had to sit down and weave this country cloth. How much money were they making out of it? And growing cotton is very
Exactly.
intensive. So eventually it went away, and we start buying these print lapas from Holland and making clothes and say they are African clothes when essentially they're not. The lapa women tie and I made in Africa, made in Holland, made in those places. So
Wow.
value added, being able to give those people the resources to improve their cotton fields and to actually produce materials, that can be utilized. That's what we're lacking in there, and that's where we need investment. Without that, that's where we are.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. We have about 5 minutes to go, and we're now in what type of country is this? And Moses, do you want to start up tonight?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
type of country is this? That we what today? We have 17 days to inauguration. Joe, we has already started banning G. He said, I'm not going. He said, Mr. Burger, you and your people are not cooperating with you. They think I thought it was joke, but they think it's serious. What type of country is this?
What type of country is this? When you look at uh, the situation at the capital, it tells you that it's sad because look at the old debris here. Just
They
for
bought
people,
them by everything and put it out there.
yeah.
Okay,
Look,
imagine.
look, look at all the old tire, the
First branch of
garbage
government, my
bin,
man.
the garbage bin, and all these mess
Yeah.
here
Mhm.
at the first branch of government.
Yeah.
What type of country is this?
Like Joe, we are like bro. That's why I tell you, Volcano, that Joe, we are.
But what type of country is this, Moses? That the very staff who are protesting for the little stipend, I'll call it because I don't call it salary,
Yeah, my man.
are the people who going all around the local wells. And I tell you right now, dry season, water being high because you know that whole place a rock.
Yeah.
All that area a rock.
Popeyes,
So the
know,
people got to go
Ken
all the
Johnson
way
Road.
down the hill
Yeah.
behind GW Gibson to haul water. Then they
To
use the
capital.
push. Some machine they build on
Yeah.
their own with two tires, and then it has a pool, and they put about 50 gallon, and you see two men and struggling to go up that hill. Then when they get to the Capitol building again, they got to carry the water all the way upstairs, fill up the drum, and some
And,
people there using the water to flush commode. What type of country is this?
whatever country is the avocado the thing you're talking about, and now one day is repetitive.
I mean, the people got to hold water all the time
Oh,
because
I mean,
imagine this, the legislature that you left when you were a legislative reporter has overgrown 30 senators. So how many representatives?
and
You know
each
what
of
it
them
means?
getting gazo.
Yeah, and you literally pouring water inside the bucket. Because
Yeah, and
nobody should
dipping
tell
it.
me anything here. Water and seawater is dead.
Tell
What
me
is supposed to
something,
not
my man.
producing water? What type of country is this?
That the seat of the first branch of government, my man. People got to do water. Whatever country.
They use bucket to flush the commode.
Can you imagine?
Actually, they actually do that volcano. They actually carry the water like that.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. You carry the
But
water, you stack the gallons, and bring the water.
wow.
Can you imagine claiming bypass hill to get
And the
the
building
garbage
have
sitting down?
elevators though. No
And you got literally
elevators.
haul the water there. Go to Temple of Justice.
Wow.
Temple of Justice. The police
Wow.
headquarters. All of these places don't have real running water. People are literally toting water. What type of country is this?
Capitol building
Volcano.
used to have elevators, Moses. You know that.
Yeah, but non-functional.
Thomas Awaji, what type of country is this? where the
That
incoming
is sad.
government is working
Yeah.
until
That is
5
sad.
a.m. cleaning the city, but by 6 a.m. the trash is piled up again. What type of
What
country is
type of
this?
country
The
is
incoming government is trying to clean the place. By morning, the place, the people bring the die again.
Of course.
Shaggy McCaffrey, what type of country is this? That the government just doesn't give a damn.
Because I don't
You
care,
said
man.
doesn't care. I'm saying just doesn't give a damn.
Yeah.
What type
What
of
type
country
of
is
country
this?
is this, my man?
What type of country is this? Emmanuel Jackson, a progressive political who aggressively campaigned against Talbot's government, was a family government, said on a social media platform, Samora Wolokoli is my son. I will.
I will
I think he meant to
I
say
will
I will
not
not
criticize.
criticize. Yes, Emmanuel. I think he meant to say I will not
Yeah.
criticize the nomination.
And the man said he lost the election in River G because he never had money. Man, go sit down somewhere, man. Come
Yeah,
in we said.
yeah. The time over. They know it. The time over. They have no relevance in the new dispensation of our country. These people they brought all this war in our country from 1980, and they thank goodness some of them stay around to ascend to higher positions in government, and they can't show anything for it. Anything for it.
Yeah, man.
Anything.
The man wasted 9 years in the Senate, did nothing meaningful.
What type of country is this, Shaggy McAfee? That the government budget is based only on the president, ministers, and senators and representative salaries.
I agree.
Not the civil servants, not the poor people. What type of country is this, Thomas Awaji? Where we praise we are for conceding the election, but it's interfering with the transition.
What type of country is this? Thomas, you're absolutely right. We praise him. We celebrate him. And only to let us down. What type of man is this?
But what type of country is this that Musa Dean forcing himself to go sit on the bench? He couldn't tell the president, say, my man, I tired, let me go rest myself. What type of country is this?
You know, for John, we are told the man, he said, look, man, I need you to be there because the thing when you turn something away, you will be my man. Man, about thinking about 9th Street residents, my man.
Well, let's come back to community we say here.
Yeah.
And I like how Stanton pushed him to the corner. Stanton say you UP man. You're the UP Alliance.
Yeah.
And Baga has said that he doesn't want this guy confirmed.
Yeah.
So when they go to the confirmation hearing, will you vote against the man? If you say you support your party, you say yes.
Of course. Then he said, no, I can't.
When the conflict of interest, you already said the man are your son.
By your son.
And you can't criticize his nomination.
Yeah.
So then what's the integrity in the Oval Office? Because Glenda asked that question as well. So what is the integrity in the oath?
Integrity, man.
What type of country is this? These people are so disingenuous, Moses. The people
man coming in, we say let the people of G down, yeah.
But Moses, what type of country is this? Our man Yeka Koluba not showing up again.
Yeah, I don't know.
How you ever Yeka will say he got a pickup or a jeep from Musa Benito?
But I beg you, I want you get to I want you get to tell more of my mouth.
but I want that also that what the people say, what the people say.
You get also easy room Volcano. Easy room Moses Seni, oh you my son.
They say what is name? Musa Benito audition of Gibson.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanted to be speaker.
The publisher of the I think the New Republic, they wrote a hell of a headline. That they get it now big up. So the guy he called a news conference, they called it the owner of the paper, my Alphonso to him. He said, yeah, Alphonso, I know. You are my son. I know what you do all of that because you're angry. Your mom is my girlfriend.
What you can say?
Yeah.
Let's see our press conference.
So I beg you forget
Okay.
I want you get that limited by
Representative Yege, what type of country is this where the issue rule and host are afraid of
Yeke Koruba.
the sitting representative before he got blast out. But Yeke Usaro, I thought that was true. That's why I said, but we don't hear from you anymore.
Yeke, my man, Yeke, you going to. Yeke, my man, we need to hear from you, my man. You just going quiet.
Yeah. So, but why Yeke not talking, especially with the way we are then acting and the people being defiant?
Yeah,
Why
Yeke.
is he not? Why is he
Yeke
not
is
talking?
angry, my man. Things not
Huh?
working out. Yeke is angry. You know?
Yes, and I mean, my man, Yeke just went in hiding.
Yeah, Yeke
I want
playing low.
you didn't use a picker to go to look at to do a farm and wait until
Oh,
the new government.
mobility on the desperation side, my man. You if you enter the plane, you start giving pick up to people.
What type of country is this Shaggy McAfee hashtag that wrongly charged Gloria Scott and punishing her for a crime she didn't
She
commit?
didn't come in, yeah.
Where is the law? How
Where's
are
the
we
law?
supposed to trust the system? What
Mm-hmm.
type of country is this that we cannot even trust the legal system?
Tell you. What type of country is this? In Volcano, I heard it on Spoon. I don't know how credible is that. That and some individuals who serve as jurors, already started speaking to Spoon, saying that they were bribed by the we administration, to come, I mean, to convict the former chief justice. I don't know how credible that is, but if that is credible, then it just beats my imagination, my man.
And then it kills everything
Yeah,
because even her son was here and he was very
very,
optimistic
very
that it
optimistic.
is impossible. And
Mhm.
especially the one of the defendants, they says she's 85 and blind.
Mhm. How can an 85-year-old woman who is blind be charged with murder?
Hmm.
Did she even know? Let's hypothetically agree that something like that happened in the house. But someone who is blind, age 85, how possible is it for such person to participate in such crime? I
That's
mean, George,
that's the kind of country. That's the type of country.
yeah, what type
That's
of
the
country
type of
is this,
country.
my man?
That's the type of country. It's unfortunate, but Moses. Let's
My
see
brother?
what 17 days will come.
Yeah. Hmm.
Come to bring for us.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a lot that we will talk about. I see a lot of lists going all over the place with
Other people's names.
yeah, with people preempting what Barca's government gonna look like.
Hmm.
Uh, we see names have been thrown out there, just creating all this noise. But historically, knowing Mr. Barca, he's tight-lipped on his
That's not
plan.
necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what people are doing, I guess, is just the same way Henry Costa came out and said the woman promising vice presidential job.
Yeah.
Put Yombly on the spell that the woman was selecting her, and just create all this tension. And so let's see. I know
And yeah, that's true. Let's see how it goes. And quickly, let me say this, Volcano. Uh, we talk about Yeke being
silence.
quiet,
Hmm.
and another man too who has gone so quiet. I have to say he does not even exist. Is Henry Costa. I don't know whether George we are finished asking him to pay the money back. Because Mr. Costa is one of those guys, that misled Mr. Weir.
I
The
think
election was all his.
yeah, I think that's the best posture to take, especially when in a dire minute you change team and you lose so miserably with the proximity to the incoming president, the
Yeah.
things that you were going to enjoy.
Yeah.
That in itself, man. Listen, I think it's the right posture. Let him go quiet, just relaxed, and see what happens after the whole transition and the takeover. And then maybe he can come back and say, Uncle Baka, Uncle Joe, yeah, son here, yeah, picking here, forgive me. And I'm sure the puppy will be kind of magnanimous to look his way. and say, son, I know you are a prodigal son. You screwed up.
Yeah, you can come.
Come back home. But I'm not sure what's gonna happen with the brother. But uh, it would be well for him to be quiet, because if he start to make big mouth and say things that would throw him in the wrong direction, then he would just only exacerbate his problem further and create more of that distance between he and this incoming president. But yeah, let me catch this one quickly. What type of country is this? Shaki McCaffey, that everyone is there for the love of money versus the love of country.
That's true, Shaggy.
Country will make everyone eat. You see, yeah, and he's right. Love of country will
True.
make everyone eat.
Yeah, that's
Love of money will make a few people eat. And
hmm
that's the unfortunate part to it. What
yeah.
type of country is this, Shaggy McCaffey, that people can tamper with the jury and
hmm
get away with it?
Get away, my man.
Type of
Can you
country.
imagine Volcano murder, my man? Convict someone for murder?
Emmanuel Jackson said JMB will have to perform well in the first 100 days.
Mhm.
All right, my man. Let's call it a night
Yeah, let's
because
call it a
you
night.
know
And
we're anticipating the weather. Ti Rome, what can be done to attract Liberians retire in the diaspora to return home? We can have that
yeah,
conversation.
that's a good one. That's a good
And
one,
in fact,
Emmanuel.
you can come and be one of
And be
our
a part of that
discussants.
discussion.
So, Emmanuel Jackson, to answer your question, you can come and be a part of the panel so you can contribute your thoughts. I have my thought, and I'm sure Moses does, but
Yeah.
we'd like to have you come on. Let me
Mhm.
know, inbox me. Let's plan this show before the inauguration, because it's important for us to,
Start talking.
start talking. He said he's retiring this year.
Okay.
Um, so at least you got small change now.
Man, retire, my man. Go
Yeah.
back when you still be okay, my
Yeah.
man. Thing
Yeah.
will be following the man, my man.
Well, folks, yeah, thanks so much for being there with us tonight. We'll be back here on Tuesday next week, God's willing. Go enjoy yourself in your different areas wherever you are. If it's good weather, we say enjoy it. We're about to brace ourselves rather for a very cold weather. It could be inclement. We don't know, but we'll see what happens between now to tomorrow evening with the snow. Moses, you
Yeah.
keep warm.
Thank you, my man.
Good night to
Please,
everyone.
we sleep well. We got nothing to worry about. We're not thinking about 17 days.